Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. Today's video is going to be all about these SS3 Diode Dynamic 3-inch LED fog lights. Before we get into that, I just want to say if you're new to the channel, please check out my Crosstrek playlist, my 911 playlist, and if you have any questions or comments, you can leave those below or contact me by email, and you will find that in the description. I was very fortunate to get contacted by William from ProLights, and you can find that link to their website below and a coupon code of RIC10 to save 10% off of not only these fog lights, but everything in their store. Thank you again, William, for giving me this opportunity to check these lights out and to put them on my car. I didn't do an unboxing video. Thought I would just have everything out and about so you can see what's in here. And these are the lights we're talking about. Again, Diode Dynamic SS3 lights. And if you've been around the Crosstrek at all for any length of time, you know that a lot of people use Diode Dynamic LED replacement bulbs. I put them in my map lights, say that 3 times fast, and my dome light just a little while ago, and you can find that video right up here if you want to check that out. What's really cool about these lights is that they are plug and play, number one. Number two, they have the highest intensity of any 3-inch fog light on the market. And they have TR optics, which basically reduces glare and produces a really nice light pattern. A lot of just bulb through lens lights tend to decrease intensity and give you kind of a goofy pattern. So these TR optics are supposed to be pretty phenomenal, and I'm really excited about checking those out. So what you get in the kit here is you're going to get your plug and play wires. And one quick thing about this that you need to be aware of, when you place your order, the Crosstreks have different bulbs in their fog lights depending on the model. And I don't really know which goes which specifically, so you're gonna have to check yours out. And this is something that was new for me that William was telling me about. My car, which is a limited 2018, had the H16 bulbs in there, but it can either be an H11/H16 or the other type of bulb is a PSX 24W/5202. So what I did is I just pulled off the 2 little tabs that we're going to need to remove anyway later to install these. Took a picture of what I had on there, and I've got that on the screen right here for you to check out. Just to find out what your bulbs are before you order, save you some time. You know you need to do that. Beyond these wires, you're also going to get 2 adapter kits, and essentially the little pod will fit in here. You attach the pod, and then these will mount to the standard mounting holes on your car. So it's nice plug and play, and then these guys will plug into the back. And then you're going to get your 2 pods, which are kind of cool looking. They look like they're 4 little lights, which is neat. On the back, you're going to see the plug on the bottom, and then also for a reference, you're going to see the some white numbers and letters right down here, and that's basically just to indicate that that's the bottom. That'll be important later when you install these. You also get the hardware that you need to attach the adapter to the fog. So I've already got one put together, and I wanted to show you, it's not hard at all, but I want to just show you how this works. You're going to take the 2 little nuts and you're going to put them in this little slot before you put the adapter kit on, and you want the part that you screw into to face out. These are little lock nuts, and it'll be obvious when you if you're installing them. You're going to slide this guy on, line up the hole, and it does give you some adjustment, so you can angle them up, down, etc. And there is a specific way that you want to put them into the fog light hole, and I'll show you that later. That comes in the instructions. So these guys we're just going to do finger tight for now. It is an Allen key, and I believe it's a 5, but I will confirm that a little bit later. So we have our pods all set up, ready to go. We're going to take all this stuff out to the car. I'm going to figure out what I need to remove to get to the fogs to put them on. Then I'll show you how that whole process works, and then I will give you what they look like during the day, as well as what they look like in the nighttime. So that'll be cool. One thing that I did see is that the orientation of these guys, if you plug them in and they don't work, you basically just flip this 180 degrees and plug it in that way, because it is directional. So you're going to want to test them before you button everything back up. All right, let's get outside and see how we get these guys installed. All right, guys, so I realized I'm in the middle of editing right now. I'm almost done, and I just realized I really haven't commented on what I think about the lights. I've shown them to you. I've kind of gone through all the install, and I have to say, this is absolutely one of my favorite mods. I never even really considered changing my fog lights. People have asked me about it in the past, and I thought if I would ever do them, I'd probably do white, but I have to thank William because he suggested yellow, and I absolutely love them. I think they're super cool, and the pattern's amazing. It's very bright. Even though they're yellow, that still adds a lot of light, as you'll see at the end of the video. If you watch the night shots and stuff, I had the 360 camera going and everything. But anyway, I just wanted to interrupt and say that so cool. Love this, love the lights, love this mod. I'm really excited to try them out on a regular basis. So let's get back to the video. All right, guys, before we get started, we're going to do a couple things. Number one, we're going to peel this bumper back, and I'm going to show you what you need to remove to do that. And we're also going to pop this bezel off, just so you have better access to the fog light and you can kind of see what's going on in there. So we're going to basically remove 2 pins here. We're going to remove 3 underneath, and we're going to fold the plastic down so that we can get to the fog light. And again, we're going to pull this bezel off, and I'll show you all that right now so you know what to remove and how to do it. All right, guys, 2 pins here. The one on the outside lip is the kind where you actually push the middle in. That'll indent, and then you can pry it off. And then the one I'm pointing at right now is a standard kind. You just pry off with the screwdriver. The 3 underneath are all just normal pry off kind. You pull them up and then pull them out. And then that is a 10mm bolt right there. And again, this last one, you're going to use a 10mm socket, or if you don't have the skid plate and bar like I do, you can just use a screwdriver or a regular wrench to get this one out. Once everything's done, you can just fold this piece of plastic down, and some people can probably do the whole light doing this without taking the bumper away. I just found it easier to take the bumper off. And again, taking this bezel off, you don't necessarily need to do it. It just helps you visualize where the pin is and where the 10mm bolt is underneath. Rest in peace, little bug. Rest in peace. Once the bumper's pulled away, you can look inside. You can see on the top, it is that push pin that you have to loosen with the Phillips head screwdriver first, and then a 10mm bolt on the bottom. Here's a shot from the front. You can see the 2 little guys just sit in the bumper, and then there's the 10mm, and then on top of that one is where that push pin goes. Here's a closer look at that push pin. You have to use a Phillips in the middle and then pry it off. Mine were both really stuck. The other one I actually ruined. Thankfully I had an extra one. This one came off after I sprayed it with WD-40 to loosen it up. You'll have to wiggle the light around a little bit just to get it out, but it comes out pretty easy. To unplug the light from the housing, it's basically just push right there and squeeze. I couldn't do it on camera because I couldn't hold the camera and do it at the same time. So here's the clip, just push down in the middle. It comes right off, very easy, unlike some clips. So now we are going to plug in the plug and play that comes with the kit. And again, if you plug it in and it doesn't work, flip it 180 degrees and then try it. So right here, I plug it in, I'm going to plug in the fog light, and then I turn my lights on to make sure that I had it the correct way. And you'll see here that I did. Actually, both sides, I got lucky. They both turned on first try. One thing to consider is, I just put this all back together and then I put the bezel back on, is I had this actually too far forward on the bracket. So the bracket, it only has a tiny bit of movement forward and back, and then it also adjusts up and down. So I essentially put my fog at just slightly below parallel, so it's not pointing straight ahead or up, it's just a little bit down. and I pushed it so that this was back all the way because my bezel would not sit on here correctly unless I did that. Once you get the fog positioned the way you want it and you know that it's going to fit, you go ahead and tighten those 4mm Allen bolts down on each side of the light, and then we're going to install it into the car. The way I did this is I got the light situated. Make sure that you put the left side of the screen, those two brackets will go into the bumper, and then I use the 10mm bolt and tighten that first, not all the way. And here's where I was talking about earlier that the directions said to make sure you have the light in there correctly. You do not want to have the fog all the way against the bottom. It says to leave a little bit of a gap there, as you'll see in this picture. Again, I'm going to put it up on the screen. At this point, I know the light turns on when I turn my lights on. I have the 10mm bolt fairly tight to keep the fog where I want it. And now I'm going to check to make sure the bezel goes on properly, because I had trouble on the other side. So it worked out pretty well here. I had it adjusted correctly, and now we're just going to button everything up. Next comes the push pin. Put that guy in place. Here I double checked just to make sure the light would come on again. My luck, I'd button it all up and then I'd have to take it apart again. Now you're going to finagle the bumper back on, just make sure everything's lined up. And then it's a little bit fiddly underneath, making sure that the plastic pieces are in the correct order. Initially I had mine kind of goofed up. You have to tuck one of them in and one of them goes on the outside. And once you get it all lined up, it connects pretty easily. And then you're going to insert your both push pins here, and then you're going to do the ones underneath, and the job is done.